Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something fundamental, something we barely think about until it's challenged. Balance.
Right. And it's not just about, not falling over. It's key for preventing injuries, boosting sports performance, even just staying independent as we get older.
Exactly. But measuring it well, especially dynamic balance, has always been tricky.
You've got the gold standard systems like the Biodex balance system. Super precise, super reliable.
But, and it's a big but, they come with a really hefty price tag.
Yeah, and they're just not everywhere. Not in every clinic, not every training facility.
Which creates this gap, doesn't it? Lots of people who could really benefit from knowing their objective balance numbers, well, they just can't get access.
Precisely. It limits how we can apply that knowledge practically.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, exploring a really, I think, innovative and crucially accessible solution, using a regular smartphone app to objectively measure dynamic balance.
And we're basing this on some very current research.
That's right. The article is titled Reliability of Dynamic Balance Test with a Mobile Application of Physics Toolbox Suite.
The authors are Erdem, Atalay, and Ebru, Turan, Kızıldoğan.
And it was just published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, Volume 24, pages 154, 159. Actually just came out online March 1st, 2025.
Very timely stuff.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. When scientists talk about balance, what exactly are we defining? Is it just standing still?
That's a great place to start. Fundamentally, balance is your body's ability to maintain its center of gravity within its base of support. Essentially, keeping yourself stable against forces trying to knock you off kilter.
Okay.
And we usually split it into two types. First, there's static balance. That's probably what most people think of. Standing perfectly still, maybe on one leg.
Yeah.
Your contact with the ground is fixed.
Like holding a pose.
Exactly. But then there's dynamic balance, and that's really where the action is for most daily life in sports.
Right, because we're rarely just standing perfectly still.
Almost never. Dynamic balance is maintaining equilibrium while your body's moving, while your contact surface changes. Maybe you're walking, running, jumping, dodging. External forces are acting on you.
And that's why it's more critical for looking at, say, instability or proprioceptive issues.
Definitely. Proprioception is your body's sense of where it is in space, Dynamic balance tests really challenge that system and show how well you can adapt and react in real-world situations.
So assessing it gives better insights into injury risk and athletic potential.
Absolutely. It helps professionals see who might be more prone to certain injuries, track how well someone is recovering after an injury, and even fine-tune training to improve performance.
Which brings us back to the problem. The best tools, like the Biodex, are expensive and not widely available.
Correct. That limitation has really pushed researchers to look for alternatives.
So the logical next step seems to be, well, the device most of us carry around constantly.
Mobile phones, yeah. Smartphones are packed with sensors, accelerometers, gyroscopes. They have huge potential as cost-effective, accessible tools for this kind of assessment.
But it hasn't been entirely smooth sailing, has it? What were the issues with earlier attempts to use apps for balance?
No, there were definitely hurdles. The study mentions, for instance, the Sway app. It's FDA approved, which is significant, but it had a couple of drawbacks noted in this paper.
Okay, like what?
Well, primarily it used a different scoring system than the Biodex, and its scores tended to bunch up at the top end. Researchers call this a ceiling effect.
So it makes it hard to tell the difference between people who are already good at balancing or to see small improvements.
Exactly. If everyone scores near the maximum, the test isn't sensitive enough to pick up subtle but important changes or differences. It limits its usefulness, especially for tracking progress.
Got it. Were there other general problems with mobile app approaches?
A really fundamental one, actually. Many early apps required the person being tested to hold the phone.
Oh, I can see how that would be a problem. Just slight hand movements.
Right. Even tiny unconscious tremors or just inconsistencies in how someone holds the phone can introduce a lot of noise, a lot of error into the measurements. Makes the data unreliable.
So some apps tried to fix that by attaching the phone to the body.
Yeah, some, like one called Ack Walker mentioned in the paper, had the phone fixed, say, to the person's thigh. That's better than holding it, definitely.
But still not perfect.
Apparently not quite reliable enough, according to previous studies cited here. The reliability was often lower than what you'd want for clinical decisions or serious athletic monitoring.
Okay, so holding is bad. Fixing to the body is better, but maybe not ideal. Which leads us to the Physics Toolbox Suite app. And this specific study by Atalay and Kızıldoğan, what did they do differently?
This is where it gets clever. First, the app itself, Physics Toolbox Suite, it's free, works on Android and iOS, though the Paper Notes Android has more features.
And it uses the phone's built-in sensors.
Exactly. The G-force meter, linear accelerometer, gyroscope. It can collect all that data, display it, record it, and export it as standard files, like CSVs. So it's already a pretty powerful tool.
But the setup was the key innovation here, right?
Absolutely. Instead of the person holding the phone or having it strapped to their leg, they fixed the smartphone directly onto the testing platform.
Onto the platform. But wasn't the platform itself unstable?
Yes, that's the point. They used a BOSU balance ball, that inflatable half-dome thing. They taped the phone securely to the flat side of the BOSU ball.
Ah, I see. So the instability came from the BOSU ball itself, not from how the phone was held or attached to the person.
Precisely. This setup allowed them to test dynamic balance on two legs, standing on this inherently wobbly surface, while the phone stayed fixed relative to the platform's movement.
That's a neat solution. Tell us about who they tested and how they ran the measurements.
Sure. They recruited 22 healthy university students, a mix of male and female, average age around 20. Importantly, all were aged 18-30 and had no history of lower limb injuries or chronic conditions that might affect balance.
Keeping the variables controlled.
Right. Each test lasted 30 seconds. Participants stood on the BOSU ball where the phone was mounted. And crucially, they did this 3 separate times with a week between each session.
Repetition to check consistency.
Exactly. Reliability is all about consistency. They also had a practice session first. They measured 3 key things: APSI, which is anterior-posterior sway.
Forward and backward wobble.
Yep. Then MLSI, medial lateral sway.
Side-to-side wobble.
Correct. And OSI, the overall stability index, which combines those into a single score representing total sway.
Okay, so we've got the app, the clever BOSU setup, the repeated tests on healthy young adults. The big question, did it work? How reliable were these measurements?
That's the core finding. And they assessed reliability primarily using interclass correlation coefficients, or ICCs. An ICC basically tells you how much of the variation in scores is due to real differences between people versus just random measurement error. Scores range from 0 to 1, higher is better.
So what were the numbers?
They were quite good, actually. For APSI, the forward-backward sway, they found good inter-rater reliability, that's consistency, when the same tester repeats the measurement with an ICC of 0.67.
Right.
And good inter-rater reliability consistency between different testers at 0.73.
So reasonably consistent both ways for front-to-back movement. What about side-to-side?
Even better, especially inter-rater. For MLSI, the side-to-side sway, they got high inter-rater reliability at 0.90.
Wow, that's very high.
It is. Inter-rater was good too at 0.71. The author suggests this might be because the ankle joint is naturally a bit more stable side-to-side anatomically, so there's less inherent wobble to measure, perhaps.
Interesting point. And the overall score?
The OSI also showed high inter-rater reliability at 0.87 and good inter-rater reliability at 0.73. So consistently good to high reliability across the board.
They mentioned other metrics too, right? SEM and MDC. Can you quickly unpack those for us? Why are they important?
Sure. SEM is the standard error of measurement. Think of it as the typical amount of noise or random fluctuation you'd expect in someone's score from test to test, even if their actual balance hasn't changed. A smaller SEM means the measurement is more precise.
That's fuzzy.
Exactly. And MDC is the minimal detectable change. Based on the SEM, this tells you the smallest change in score that you can be pretty confident represents a real change in balance, not just random error.
So it tells you if an improvement or decline is meaningful.
Precisely. Having good SM and MDC values, which this study found, means the tool isn't just consistent, it's also sensitive enough to detect real changes. That's vital if you want to use it to track rehabilitation progress or training effects.
Okay, so let's connect this back. We had this free app, used in a novel way, showing good to high reliability. How does this stack up against, say, the expensive Biodex or those earlier, less reliable app attempts?
Well, that's the exciting part. The reliability figures they achieved, especially the high inter-rater ones for MLSI and OSI, are comparable to, and in some cases potentially even better than, reliability reported in some studies using other methods, including some involving apps where the phone was attached to the body.
Even though the phone was on a really unstable surface like a BOSU ball.
Yes. It strongly suggests their hypothesis was right. Fixing the sensor rigidly to the platform, even an unstable one, is better than fixing it to the potentially moving body segment or having someone hold it. It isolates the platform's movement as the primary variable being measured.
So the big takeaway for you listening is pretty significant. This study suggests that a free app on your own phone, used with a simple common piece of equipment like a BOSU ball, can give objective, reliable data on dynamic balance.
It really opens doors. The practical benefits are huge. You've got a reliable, objective tool without the massive cost.
Making balance assessment way more accessible.
Absolutely. For clinics, for sports teams, maybe even for individuals managing their own health or fitness, it's cost-effective. It's potentially much quicker than setting up complex systems and needs minimal equipment.
Think about physical therapists being able to track patient progress more frequently,
Yeah.
or coaches screening athletes for injury risk more easily.
Exactly. The potential applications are widespread.
Of course, you mentioned it's early days in some respects. What were the limitations the authors pointed out?
Right. Important to keep those in mind. Because the phone was on the BOSU, they could only measure two-legged stance. Many balance assessments also include single-leg tests, which this setup doesn't allow for.
Okay, that makes sense.
And as we noted, the study participants were all healthy young adults. We don't yet know how reliable this method is for people who actually have balance problems, older adults, people post-stroke, athletes recovering from ACL surgery, things like that.
So more research is needed in different populations.
Definitely. We need to validate it in clinical groups and across different age ranges to really understand its broader utility.
But even with those caveats, the future potential seems really exciting.
It really does. If further research confirms its reliability in more diverse groups, you could see apps like this becoming standard tools in rehabilitation, injury screening, maybe even integrated into fitness tracking, all using tech most people already have.
It's quite amazing, that idea of personalized health insights, powered by the device in your pocket. This research really brings that closer to reality for balance assessment.
It shows how clever thinking and leveraging existing technology can overcome long-standing barriers in healthcare and performance science.
So if this has sparked your interest and you want all the technical details, we absolutely recommend checking out the full article. Again, it's Reliability of Dynamic Balance Test with a Mobile Application of Physics Toolbox Suite by Erdem, Atalay, and Ebru, Turan, Kızıldoğan in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine.
It's a well-conducted study with some really promising findings.
And definitely make sure you follow our channel, turn on those notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. We're always working to bring you insightful analysis like this. Thanks for joining us.